I want to just record this, Sharon. So hi everyone, if you're watching this, but Sharon is a good friend of mine, and Sharon Courtot here she's an intuitive coach and a healer, and she's helped me immensely with life in general. The past few years, I feel I guess it's just been like a year I've known you, but it feels like I've known you.
Yeah, about that.
It feels like
it does.
Life, But she's really helpful for me, and we just we were talking about money for a while, which is an important thing, but right now I wanted to kind of just tell you guys about this experience I was having this weekend, because I have this like really serious issue with depression, right? And I've had chronic depression my whole life, and I was just telling Sharon this, that ever since I can remember, I've always felt like really alone and very sad and alone and scared sometimes. And it's gotten a lot better in the past few years, but it still is something that triggers me. And yesterday, which was Saturday, it was a beautiful day yesterday, but Sharon, I woke up and I had so much grief about something. Like, I don't know what I was connected to, but there was some huge amount of grief and sadness and sorrow. And I no matter what I did, I couldn't get myself out of it. If I meditated for a while, I did yoga, I went for a walk, like all those things that you do that, sometimes make you feel better. But I was just immersed in it, and I could hardly move. And I luckily for me, I have a very good friend of mine who does EFT. And so I called her, she's also amazing. Her name is Karen Stoltz. And if you ever need someone for EFT treatment, she's incredible.
She's the girl.
Yeah, she's the one to call. And so she helped me, she literally walked me off this cliff yesterday through EFT, which was, amazing. But I wanted to talk to you about it because it's like something that we all go through, right?
Yeah.
And you were saying that you go through it as well, that you have it on Friday.
Yeah, right? I have it. It's so bizarre. Fridays at 4 p.m., this loneliness just comes into my body and absorbs every bit of space in my body and my mind and my heart. And I feel like part of it's been going on for 20 years, and part of it has been, I feel like the loneliness, being married, my first marriage, where it was so awful feeling alone in a marriage. And I think even though I'm happy in my second marriage, extremely happy, I feel like my body has remembered that feeling and I haven't released it. And this past Friday, I was driving home just feeling like so distraught and so lonely and so sad that I physically had to put my hand on my heart and just remind myself, like, I am a child of God who loves me completely and whole, and the universe has my back, and I'm never alone. I have a spirit team behind me that always works. But the gripping loneliness and sadness, Melissa, was almost unbearable on Friday. And I constantly would come home over the years and I'd reach for something. I can't have a drink, but I'd reach for some kind of food that wasn't good for me. It's almost like I was eating just to satisfy this unknowing, deep craving inside of me that I don't even know what I was trying to satisfy. And I would just kind of eat garbage and fill up in the hopes that loneliness and loss would go away. And and Friday, it got so bad that I decided to make friends with it. Like I was saying to you, how the phrase is, what you resist, you persist. And so I'm like, I'm just going to sit here and make friends with this feeling, because at least then I would feel more empowered, instead of it's a feeling that comes over me and I can't control it. I needed to embrace it and be like, what's trying to emerge from me that you keep showing up every Friday? And part of it I felt like was this little 6-year-old girl that lives inside of me, that because my father was emotionally unavailable, my mother was an alcoholic, that my needs weren't met. And when I was alone in the house, I felt unsafe. So I constantly make sure I'm around people. And I think what happens is that I've never learned to be alone and okay and feel safe in that and to trust myself. And Friday was really the pinnacle of all of it. And so I just sat with it and I let the tears flow and I let the sadness come. I let the loneliness come forward and just embraced it and made friends with it. And, you know, put my hand on my heart and told that 6-year-old girl, like, you know, that's over. This is a new life for us. And you're always safe and always protected. And if I'm with myself, then I'm never alone. I can't tell you that next Friday that I won't have that same despair and loneliness and grief. It like lives in my stomach almost. But Friday, it's like I finally had to make peace with it and deal with it, because obviously something's trying to emerge from me to have a feeling that will bring me to my knees like that. And that's what happened on Friday.
So when you say you made friends with it, what does that look like?
Well, I just asked myself, like I said, what is trying to emerge through this loneliness and grief? And what became apparent was that I've never felt comfortable being alone with myself.
So you're saying that you asked that question either out loud or internally?
It was in my head, yeah.
So you're asking, you're opening yourself up to the divine, right?
Yes.
Saying what is this about?
Right.
Like you had a come to Jesus moment with yourself.
I totally did.
In a way,
yeah.
Right? And that's kind of like the first step, right? Is that you sat down or whatever, you stopped doing what you're doing. You're like, what is this?
What is trying to emerge?
Knowledge that this is actually happening, instead of being, oh no, I'm okay, I'm fine. And you go drink, take a shot.
Or get that Ben and Jerry out.
Yeah, get
right?
that.
Yeah.
I know, right? I mean, I had because I've had years like, drinking myself into a tizzy, smoking a lot of pot. I mean, in college, I dropped a lot of acid and, all those things to get rid of the pain. Right. And I think, and I heard this really amazing interview with Brene Brown this morning on her book, Belonging. Have you seen that book? I haven't read it.
No, not yet.
Right. I'm going to get it and read it but it's about belonging, and it's about feeling not like you belong, which I think is what we were talking about, is like we feel so alone.
Right.
But the first step, as she was saying, is that is to acknowledge that that's even happening. That you're having those feelings, right, of pain, and that people don't like the pain. They just want to get past it. So you're saying like you actually just took it on and said, okay, I'm feeling this. Why? Let me make friends with it. Let me invite it in.
Because I looked at it for so long as this feeling that came over me that I had no control over. Right. Instead of looking at it like, oh, something's trying to emerge in me. Something wants to be awakened. And there's a piece, and there's a piece of me that needs to come alive. And I think it's like, oh, I'm connected to everybody. I'm totally connected to source. So I can never be alone, but it's that headspace of mine where I feel like I'm separate from everybody.
Yes.
And it makes me feel so isolated and alone. And then it brings up all those memories of being so young and afraid in my house that it was such a mind fuck, I have to tell you. But it was like, Friday was like, I have to figure this out, because I cannot, it's been 20 years, Melissa, that I have felt this. And the pain was just too great. And something wanted to awaken.
You're having that weekly Friday moment?
Yeah. That Friday moment.
You've been dealing with, I mean, can we talk about this? I mean, you've been dealing with addictions, right?
Yeah. All my life. Yeah.
And you've conquered them, or you've met them where they were at, right? And
actually, I didn't really put the pieces now until just literally this minute that it's that feeling of anxiety and loneliness that I covered up with all that alcohol and those drugs.
Exactly.
And so I've been in recovery for a narcotics addiction for 6 years now. But I feel like Friday's episode was like, this is the one piece I have to wrestle. Like, I need to just embrace that loneliness and make it my friend, because it's a part of me. And I don't want to separate or not love every part of me. So it's just become a teacher for me to sit in that loneliness and know that that I'm not separate from others, that we're all connected, and I have the greatest love around me. And that separateness is my ego mind telling me I'm different.
Right.
And the ego will speak first, and the ego will speak loudest.
Yeah.
Because the ego likes the comfort of the way it's always been. It doesn't want to go outside that comfort.
Yes.
So, right. So when that ego mind gets going, man, I can go from 0 to 60 like that. And that's what happened on Friday. And it was just, I couldn't deal with it anymore. I had to embrace it. I had to love it. And now I can look at it today as Friday was a real teacher, a real learning experience for me.
And so how do you feel, like, how is that energy for you now today versus when it was happening to you on Friday? Do you feel separate from it, or do you feel is it part of who you are? Are you embrace part of you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. No, it feels like I really integrated that part. Mm. So I feel like it's going to come up again.
Right.
Right?
Yes, that's the thing, is to know it's going to come up again.
It totally is going to.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Welcome. Welcome. It's that ego mind of mine, but I have anchored it into my heart, which is what I did Friday. Was I just literally sat with my hand on my heart, and it's like
you put your hand on your heart?
Physically, yeah. Physically on my heart, and it will come Friday, and I'll do the same thing, like welcome, and I need to just get ahead of it. Like, you're not alone. Don't let your ego mind tell you that you're not separate from anyone. Mm-hmm. And the Course in Miracles, I'm a student of Course in Miracles, really teaches us that that's the first sense of guilt we have, is that we left God. And so we've come now to this earth with that feeling that we have left him, and then we project all of our guilt out on everybody else. So hand to heart reminds me how connected I am to everybody, including God, the universe, divine, source, whatever it is you want to call it.
Hand to heart.
It was so helpful. It really helped to anchor it for me. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I can feel that,
Yeah.
I did, for me on Saturday, that's when I had my meltdown. And, and I went out I took myself out to these farms that I love. I love to smell the earth. I love to see the acres ahead of me and the growing of these beautiful vegetables, and just to be with that farm and the farmers who work so hard, and it just gives me a real sense of peace, and so that to me was my connection is with, I was walking barefoot in the grass. I went to this river that I know in Connecticut called the Farmington River, and I put my hands in the water. And
wow.
Then I put, I just put them over my face, and I looked at the sun, I looked at the trees, I looked at the stones. I was very present in the moment, and I'm like, this is all of me. I'm part of this. Like the water and the stones and the air and the trees, all of it's all the part of who I am, and we're all connected, like you were saying. And that was such a help, being in nature.
I understand that. Like, sometimes I'll walk outside and just put my feet in the grass just to feel that connection with Mother Earth, that, she's there supporting my life and me. And I think nature is a beautiful way to feel that connection. 100%. That's really a beautiful thing that you did for yourself.
Yeah, I think, I guess it's like we both, we're both kind of, I don't know if the word self-medicating is right, but it's like we're self-loving, we're self-loving. We're giving ourselves, this is the medication we need, is the love. We need to love ourselves.
Well, love is the elixir.
Right.
It really is the medicine for everything. And when you can feel that, when these episodes were happening, I would do anything to resist that feeling, to make that feeling go away. And when I allowed it to just come in, I cried for a little while, but it wasn't like the world opened up and swallowed me. It was just like, feelings aren't right or wrong. They're just feelings. And it was just such relief and peace to embrace it and be like, oh, sorry you're scared right now. It'll be okay. This will pass. Let's just sit with it and make friends with it. And it did. So I feel like nature, too, like you were saying, is such a wonderful way of reconnecting with yourself and seeing how connected we are to everything in the world. It's just like when I work in Norwich, it's like, it's not like the area has a lot of diversity. So there are lawyers and doctors walking around, but there's also like people who are homeless and have addiction issues. And I have to remind myself, like, I am no different than that guy on the corner sleeping one off. And I'm no different than the lawyer driving by in his Audi. Like, we're all the same and all connected. We've just chosen a different way to express ourselves this lifetime because of lessons that we need to learn. And most of that is just, I think the lessons bring us to this crossroad at some point. And it's like, are you going to walk in the direction of fear, or are you going to walk in the direction of love? And if you walk in the direction of love, then I feel like that's when everything comes together for you, and your world will open up, and the people that you're supposed to meet will finally come in because the floodgates have opened. And then that person will introduce you to the next person, and then this thing will open up for you. And it's such a more of a downward flow versus running around with all that fear and anxiety, and I got to be here, or I got to be better, or whatever that is that you think you've got to do. Really, all you got to do is love yourself and the person next to you. That's it. And that's the elixir.
That's the elixir, and gratitude is the fuel.
Gratitude, yes. Gratitude is the fuel of the universe. And the more I give gratitude for the things that I love, the more they show up in my life. And because it's that law of whatever that was you were saying that was so beautiful, it's like the law of
reciprocity.
Yes, thank you. And be able to come back. It's like where you put your focus always comes back. So if you're focused like on all the negative things in your life, that just keeps that activated, that story activated. And if you're focused on the things that you love and appreciate, that's where your attention goes, and that more of that is activated. And so I really try hard to keep my focus on the flow of my life of just love and appreciation and gratitude for everyone around me and my bank account. You know, I was telling you earlier how when I swipe my debit card at the store for gas, I always give thanks to the universe for the money I have to pay for these things. And I just feel like that fuels
what
gratitude.
A great habit.
It really is. Yeah. And because it's like in the past when I would pay a bill, I would be like, oh man, if I don't have to pay this bill, I have an extra, $400 in my account. Yeah. And now and instead of like looking at it in terms of lack, I now look at it in terms of appreciation. Like, thank you. Now I have a car I can drive to get me places.
Right. Yeah.
So
it's a different perspective.
Yeah, totally different perspective. When I look at my bank account in the morning, I don't see the lack anymore. After everything's been debited, I see like, God, thank you for this life that I'm able to pay for these things, and that things that I need that can sustain me.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. That's a different way to look at it, but it works.
Right.
So
it does work. Yeah. And that's why it's really, I think, important to have a spiritual practice in the morning, one of appreciation and thanks, because I feel like it sets the tone for the rest of the day for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I know.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm going to do that. And
yay.
I do that every, pretty much every morning. And I do notice when I don't participate in my own, ritual that I have set up for myself, I can feel a difference now,
Yes.
and how I feel about myself as I go through the day, and my energy levels and all of that. So I had posted something on Facebook today. If anyone watching is friends with me on Facebook, or I can send you the link, but it's called the 5 Tibetan Rites. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, Sharon.
I have, yeah.
But it's really powerful. It's I think it takes 20 minutes. Some people say it takes 5, but I think they're lying. Anyway, it's if you do 21, it's 21 times. So you can do it like 7 times or 14 times or 21. I choose to do the 21 times. So it's, spinning counterclockwise and raising your legs up and down and doing these different things. But it helps energize you. I don't know. I can't, just from your very core of your being, it just kind of like, you just feel like alive, like you don't even need caffeine,
right.
Which is amazing for me because I always need
me too. My favorite.
Yeah. So whoever's listening, check out the 5 Tibetan Rites. Just Google it and watch it on YouTube. There's a few good videos out there for people. So
yeah, beautiful.
Anyway. All right. Well, thank you for being with me tonight, Sharon. It's been great. And
Thanks, Melissa.
thanks for sharing your story with me.
Yeah, thanks. I love you. Thanks for having me.
I love you too.
Yeah.
Okay.